Hey everybody, Meteorologist Mike Slifer here in the First Alert Forecast Center, and we are coming at you with the numbers, the official numbers for 2025. A look back at the year, a brief talk maybe about some of the weather events or really lack thereof, and a look ahead to what we're expecting here as we kick off 2026, the first Alert Weather Extra of the new year. So certainly some exciting things to dive into. A lot of numbers coming at you here. We'll start off with December of 2025. Official numbers in the books. We finished 4.6 degrees below normal for the Hartford area with an average temperature throughout the course of the month of 28 degrees. And we finished a little bit below normal for precip, aka the liquid equivalent of anything frozen or rainfall, and a little bit below normal for snow. Typically we see 10.1 inches. We saw 8.9 inches of snow. So what does that mean for 2025 as a whole? Well, it means that the year is really not all that remarkable. August, November, and December were all colder than normal by a decent margin. And even with those colder than normal months mixed in, we still ended the year a little bit above normal, a little bit warmer than normal by half a degree. So our normal temperature, at least based on the 1990 to 2020 climate period, that 30-year period, is 51 degrees. We ended up at 51 and a half. For rain, we saw 46.63 inches. That's rainfall or the liquid equivalent of anything frozen. That's just over 0.4 of an inch away from normal. In other words, over the course of 365 days, very close to where we typically would be. For snowfall, a bit of a different story, but not much of a surprise. With 27.5 inches of snow throughout the course of the season, we finished with a deficit of 24.2 inches. We typically see 51.7 inches for the Hartford area over the course of a calendar year. We, of course, didn't really have any other very significant weather events that played out. There were no confirmed tornadoes in the state of Connecticut, the first time since 2017. We also, thankfully, did not really deal with much else in the way of significant flooding and things like that. Certainly no tropical systems that impacted us directly. So all things considered, 2025, not a bad year for weather across Connecticut. Nothing notable, means that things, relatively speaking, were benign. Of course, we did have things like the rain and the wind around Halloween, never ideal, and we just had Winter Storm Abraham at the end of December there, right after Christmas. So, there were certainly some things that were maybe a little bit more notable, but as a whole, the year didn't have anything that jumped out at us. So normal high temperature yesterday, 37, normal low 21. By the end of the month, normal high is 36, normal low is 18. January is on average our coldest month every year. We typically see 14.2 inches of snow in the month of January, and we'll revisit that number coming up in a bit to contextualize it a bit more. The highest temperature recorded since 1905 for the Hartford area, 72 degrees on January 6th, 2007. The record low temperature, it's quite a bit different. 26 below zero, negative 26. That was recorded back on January 22nd, 1961. And, if we get a very cold air mass overhead, calm wind, a clear sky, and have a good snowpack, that's when you can really get some of those extreme cold temperatures. The wettest, 9.61 inches of precip, 1978, and 2011, we saw 54.3 inches of snow in the month of January alone. So more than we would typically see in an entire season fell in the month of January. If you remember, 2010 to 2011 was quite the winter. When it comes to normal high temperatures, this is actually a pretty important month because 35 degrees you see there on January 15th, that is the bottom of our average temperature curve. In other words, from the 19th through the 30th, a 21-day stretch, our average high temperature is 35 degrees. Beyond that, that average high starts to climb. It's 36 by February 1st, 38 by February 15th, into the low 40s by the end of February, into the mid 40s by the middle of March. We don't always see that smooth transition into spring. In fact, it's very rare that we do. However, it is worth mentioning that things on average do get a bit milder, especially as we approach the end of the end of February and get into the month of March. Today, though, not the case. 26 degrees, normal high, 36, 10 degrees below normal. Most towns right now, outside of some of the towns in the quiet corner, are running a bit milder than normal, than 24 hours ago. colder than normal, but warmer than 24 hours ago. 21 in Hartford. Compare that to 12 in Meriden, 15 in Waterbury, 11 in Torrington, 17 in Windsor Locks. Look at Willimantic coming in at 9 right now. 22 in Groton, 27 in New Haven. Temperatures will hold steady here, maybe even rise a little bit over the next few hours. And that's just due to a subtle shift in our wind direction. First Alert Futurecast showing that westerly wind continues, maybe even becoming briefly southwesterly in parts of the state. So we'll be watching that pretty closely. But either way, a clear sky through most of the day tomorrow. It's not until tomorrow afternoon and evening where the clouds begin to ramp up. We're expecting temperatures to rise to around 30 degrees. We'll say 30, give or take a degree or two. And then as we get into tomorrow night, well, that's when we'll be watching this weak area of low pressure approach from the west. So sort of a clipper system here. Doesn't look very impressive, but it will allow for at least a period of light snow showers in the pre-dawn hours on Sunday. A lot of this will be wrapping up as we approach sunrise on Sunday. But we could see, again, maybe just a little bit of snow, a brief period of light snow, and then this all will move on out. A stronger area of low pressure passes by to our south east, doesn't affect us at all. But with that brief period of light snow showers, we could pick up maybe a coating to a half inch of snow. We're not expecting any significant impacts here, certainly, but don't be surprised if you do see a coating out there on Sunday morning. Temperatures on Sunday between about 30 and 35 degrees in the afternoon. With a little bit of sunshine, we actually expect things to melt pretty nicely, so that's some good news there. Right now, First Alert Live radar is scanning clear and dry. We have nothing to track across Connecticut, and we do not expect that to change. Earlier today, we were tracking some flurries. Those have all since dissipated. Some lake effect snow continues for parts of New York State. Nothing that is going to make it here, and nothing that will impact us. Here's our ICAM view right now, looking live in Mystic. Snow-covered boardwalk next to the Mystic River. We'll take you next to our ICAM here in Middletown. A pretty tranquil night right now. Follow it up with a live look at our ICAM in New Haven. The green is still half snow-covered. Maybe a brief coating out there on Sunday, but it will look very green relative, of course, to what you might expect in January once we get into next week. And that's because things are going to get much milder. A little tease ahead there. We'll talk about that in a second. We'll take you now to Old Saybrook, where we still see some snow on the docks. And we'll finish off with a live look at our ICAM in Rocky Hill as we look north to the Hartford skyline. January 2nd, a cold day across Connecticut. We have more cold weather on the way this weekend. Temperatures running below normal through Monday. That little system does reinforce the cold Sunday into Monday, down to 12 degrees Monday morning, 26 degrees Monday afternoon. And then overnight temperatures start to climb. In fact, they'll be above freezing by the end of next week. Daytime temperatures start to climb too. We're between 25 and 30 degrees Monday, upper 30s, low 40s on Tuesday. And then we're back in the lower 40s Wednesday. We can't rule out some isolated showers, given the temperature profile, though, likely rain. By Thursday, we're in the mid-40s. By Friday, unseasonably mild in the upper 40s. And again, showers will be possible in the form of rain. And this pattern looks like it could hold January 10th through the 16th, showing these deeper shades of orange over Connecticut. This doesn't tell us how much above normal we will be, just that it's a higher chance that we end up warmer than average. At that same time, average is about 35 degrees during the day, so keep that in mind. But either way, certainly a bit of a break from the cold that we have dealt with throughout November and December. When it comes to the average amounts of snow, here's what we've seen so far. 8.9 inches in December, 1.7 inches in January. So we finished October, November, and December a little bit below normal. We'll see how January shakes out. We have a lot of time left in the month, even though we don't really see much of a chance for snow over the next 7 to 10 days. We do still have a surplus in Bridgeport, and our deficit in Hartford is not that big. So these numbers may not change much, a little bit out there Saturday night into Sunday, and then we'll likely see the deficit for the Hartford area start growing a bit more while the surplus in Bridgeport gets chipped away. Now, we'll be watching very closely, and we'll be the first to alert you if we see anything start to shift, if that milder air looks like it's going to take longer to arrive to the state, or if, of course, any storm systems look like they could be a bit more impactful. But at this point in time, the trend for next week has been fairly tranquil, and not anything that is very impactful, which is good news. One final check here, the First Alert 7-day forecast. You can always track any snow showers that develop with the free First Alert weather app. The interactive radar is a very handy tool to have, especially when we get into these setups where we have these light snow events and they happen sort of at odd hours overnight. And by the time we get into the middle of next week, you may want it to track the rain showers, because look at those temperatures. We're talking highs back up into the 40s. We will have much more tonight on the Wax at 10 and Channel 3 at 11. Hope you all had a great holiday season and everybody's ready to sort of get back into the groove of of normalcy as we go through the weekend and into the start of next week. Have a great night.